And welcome to the Intuitive Quantum Human Design question and answer. So, one of the questions that I receive a lot with clients is, how do I know when to say yes or no without guilt? And so, we're going to talk about this around boundaries in human design tonight. First of all, most of us are conditioned to say yes, to keep the peace, to fit in, or to avoid conflict. And in human design, your authority, whether it be emotional, sacral, splenic, lunar, whatever it is, it shows your body how you're designed to make decisions. It's really amazing. And when you learn of what your authority is and you lean on that authority, that's when you're learning to say yes, only when it feels aligned, and no without guilt, because you're honoring your design, not people's expectations. So, how do you say yes or no without guilt by authority? And so, tonight we're going to talk about several of them, which is going to be seven of them tonight. And these are something that we can lean on a lot. We can also use them in our daily lives. And for some of us, it's a lot clearer than it is for others. So, first one we're going to talk about is emotional authority. So, emotional authority is when you have a wave. You have waves that go up and down. There's these really big highs and lows, and then there's everything in between. And clarity doesn't come in the heat of the moment when you have emotional authority. Now, for some people that have a defined sacral, understand that even if you have a defined sacral, you still have, and you have emotional authority trumps the sacral. So just trust the emotional piece of it, where you have those highs, you have those lows, and then you will have the plateaus. And the plateaus is where it really gets good. So, as far as the boundary pieces of it goes, you just don't commit right away. Your key phrase is saying, I'll get back to you, or let me get back to you. That creates a boundary of time. And you don't have to get so specific that, like you have to give them a specific day, but give yourself usually 3 days. It seems to be like the sweet spot. And that's going to allow you to say yes or no without the guilt. You're going to be guilt free because you're grounded in clarity, not in pressure. When you're feeling the pressure to, answer a question or answer what someone needs, that's when a lot a lot of anxiety can come in. And that's something that obviously doesn't feel good in the body. So when you wait, you avoid regret and resentment because you've honored your emotional rhythm. And so emotional authority is really, like I said, highs, lows, wait for the plateaus, everything clear. And it can almost be like this little click that comes in, that it clicks into place. You've got the clarity, you can make the decision. It's really cool. Next, we have sacral authority. And those are the ones that have that. I have sacral authority. And so your body instantly knows through gut sound sensations and energy shifts. And for those of us that have the sacral authority, it's the uh-huh on the uh-uh. And of course, for some of you might remember, your parents may have said, oh, don't say those noises. It's yes or no. But that's a natural sound. And if it's something that you have sacral authority, and it's something that you really tap into, I highly recommend it. Just start with the uh-huh, start with the uh-uhs, and have people ask you yes or no questions to kind of get you into the rhythm of that. And if your body doesn't light up, it's a definite no. Even if your mind says you should, because a lot of times our mind likes to take over and we don't trust what our bodies are saying to us and what our sounds are saying to us. So it's really trusting yourself. So when you do this, you free yourself from guilt because you're trusting your natural response system instead of people's expectations. And I know that a lot of people have expectations on us, whether it be work, personal, whatever. There's a lot of pressure that gets put onto us. And if we're not honoring our needs, if we're not honoring our response, our sacral response, then we're not honoring ourselves. The next one is splenic authority. Now, with the splenic authority, you get quiet in the moment hits of instinct. They're subtle, but they're always about safety and well being. So your job is to trust the whisper the first time. So when that kind of comes in, trust it. If your spleen says no, it's no, and that is it. Not it's a non-negotiable. Hesitation invites guilt because the mind overrides what was already clear. So when you feel that, you know it, that little whisper, "Psst, hey, trust that." Absolutely. And when you do trust that, you avoid energy leaks and dangerous overcommitments by honoring the present moment. It's all about being present, all about really listening to what is going on within. So the next one we're moving into is the ego heart authority. So this one is decisions are based on willpower and desire. And the question is always, do I really want this? Is this worth my energy? Man, that those questions that I feel like those questions could be good for anybody, but when you have that ego heart authority, do I really want this? Is it worth my energy? Because our energy is so important. Energy is everything. And if we're just giving it away to things that don't say right, if it's not the genuine want, the answer is no. And if you're saying yes out of obligation, it completely depletes your heart. You'll feel it right here. When you do honor that, do I really want this? Is it worth my energy? And you get the answer and you're honoring what really comes through. The guilt disappears when you honor desire because you know your yes is infused with passion and commitment. That feels good in your body because passion, commitment, it just feels deep within. Self projected authority. So your truth comes through your voice when you speak it out. You hear yourself into clarity and the benefit is to talk it out with someone you trust. When you hear your words, your yes or no becomes obvious, and the boundary is giving yourself the space to speak before committing to something. So you might need to take a little bit of time to kind of talk it out instead of just jumping into something. And if you do that and you're talking to the person that you trust, you're giving yourself the space to speak before committing, you're working it through, then you're not going to have any guilt because you're honoring your identity and your authentic expression. So the next one we have is mental or environmental authority. This is for projectors only. And this is how it works. You gain clarity by processing out loud in the right environment with the right people. And I've worked with a lot of projectors, and this is so true. They love to talk and really process it out loud. It is so powerful to hear them working it through. With my clients, I've used Marco Polo so they can really speak everything out, get it all out, and then get feedback if asked. And of course, they're my clients, they trust me. So having that feedback come back to them if they need that in that moment, I'm more than happy to do that. But what I love about Marco Polo is there's no interruption. They can just go completely. And a lot of times people like to interject their thoughts. This gives them full flow and time to really get it out. So don't pressure yourself to decide alone. Boundaries mean choosing the right sounding boards and environments that bring clarity. So the other part of that is that you're going to be getting that clarity from the sounding boards and hearing it said back to you. So when you get the yes or no decisions, you're going to feel lighter and more confident because they're shaped in places and with the people that support you. Now, that being said, because we've been conditioned by a lot of the people in our lives when we're talking things out, we're used to listening to certain people that may not necessarily be the right environment or the right people for us. So we've been getting this information that comes back that isn't always honoring us. So make sure that you are with the people that truly support you because you could be listening to the wrong thing and how it's coming back to you. It's their interpretation. They're not really coming back to what you needed to hear about what you were processing in the first place. And our final one is lunar authority. These are for reflectors only. And you need a full 28 day lunar cycle to sample all perspectives and feel into decisions. You are completely open. You don't have any defined centers. So there's a lot of things that are just swirling through you at all times. And when you have a decision that you need to make, it's being with somebody that has a lot of patience. And it's also for you is having your yes or no boundary is a patience with yourself and others having that with you as well. So really making it clear to others that, hey, I need some time to think about this. Not let me get back to you, but I need time to think about this, especially really important decisions. I mean, if you know, for example, that you want a coffee over a tea, not that kind of decision, but bigger decisions that are going on in your life, whether it has to do with job, relationships, it could have to do with moving, those types of things. Saying not yet honors your design, and rushing into yeses creates the deepest guilt and misalignment. Misalignment, you will feel that within you so deeply, and so to avoid that, just give yourself the time, give yourself patience. And if, like I said, if you're with somebody, if say you have a partner, they may want to help you to become and be comfortable with waiting like that. They may have some insight and you can work with that as well. But really, if it's something big, just give yourself that time. And when you say yes or no without guilt, because you've given yourself the time to know what's truly aligned for you, you will feel so, so good. You will feel positive. You will feel knowing you won't have that anxiety because you really listen to yourself. You've done this without any guilt. So each authority is sets a unique filter for your yes or no. And when you honor it, guilt dissolves. And that's something that we've been talking about this week is not feeling guilty. So because you're no longer deciding from the pressure, obligation, or conditioning, you're deciding from your design. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of pressure from people that can come into your life. We have a lot of obligations and responsibilities, and there's been a ton of conditioning since you were a little child that you received from your parents, from society, from teachers, friends, peers, whoever through the years. So it's really coming back to yourself, trusting yourself, knowing yourself, and loving and honoring what feels best for you in your design. Thank you so much for joining me on this Q&A about authority this evening. Take care.